Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be wiring up the rear of the Hellcat Magnum. So that means I'm going to be getting the collision avoidance sensors, the parking sensors, the tail lights, everything back here wired up. Also, we'll try to get the hatch wired up because I want to have everything done in the rear because there's a few things that I have to still wire up once the engine comes back out to put the headers on them when they come. So I'm trying to do this as strategically as I possibly can so I'm not wasting a bunch of time. I also ordered everything to make new brake lines since I would have had to cut the brake lines, add the new fittings so everything works with the Durango ABS pump. So instead of doing that and cutting up good brake lines for a Charger Hellcat, I decided to just order brand new stainless steel line, and I have some right here when I did the FD, all the stainless lines in the FD, but I had to order some larger 5/16 tubing coming from the master cylinder of the Hellcat to the ABS pump. So let's get everything wired up, and I'm gonna start taking apart that loom. I really don't want to take another loom apart, but it's gonna go pretty quick because I'm just pulling out the ABS sensors, all the rear stuff for the bumper, the parking sensors, the tail lights, etc. So it's gonna go very, very quick, and all that stuff just goes from the back of the car straight up to the body control module. So it should be really straightforward, really simple, and all I have to do is just de-loom it. So it's just the harness that I got from that red Charger right here, and I'm also gonna pull the power wire coming from the battery out to get all this de-loomed, and I have to pretty much pull stuff from here. This plug right here goes to the rear tail lights and the rear parking sensors, and then there's a module back here, but should be good to go. So I now have everything from the back parking sensors, tail lights, etc. pretty much de-loomed, and I got this main piece out that holds all that wiring nice and tidy. I just need to install it into the car right here to make it all like factory, so all the loom runs perfect. This little part right here is where the wiring goes up to the top, or the hatch is where I'm going to have it go. So it just runs up along the side right here. And what I did was I made it so it uses Charger seat belts, so I don't have to worry about having the Magnum seat belts. And I'm probably going to end up making all this nice and tidy when I do all of the rear trim, so it's nice and thin instead of using the Magnum plastics, because I really don't like how they look and they take up a lot of room. They're heavy. They only come in tan or gray, which never looks any good. So let's get the rest of this wiring out of this harness so I could add it into this piece right here. So I almost have everything out of the charger wiring harness. All I have left in here is the door harness and then the airbag stuff. So everything else is inside the car. We have the taillights hooked up, which is really nice. I just need to route everything, but I think that's gonna go really nice. You can see there isn't many wires back there. And then all of this stuff, I'm not sure if I'm going to end up mounting the module for the, I guess that's the amp for the stereo, the 17 or 19 speaker stereo system. I'm not sure if I'm just gonna mount it back there where it would be on the Durango Hellcat with the module for, actually I think the module for the rear differential locker, the electronic locker, I'm gonna mount on this side. So then it just goes through that hole where it would for the ABS sensors, which I have those ran as well. And then everything will just be super clean. But then up here, we have everything coming from the back. We have the rear antenna. Then we have all the ABS wires, tail light wiring, camera, all that stuff right there, which I think is going to come out really clean. And then I just need to start adding everything from the Durango harness after I loom all of this stuff up, because this stuff right here pretty much is going to be shortened. So all those plugs right there are for the fuse box, which the fuse box is going to be backed by the battery now. And then everything will just come forward to the doors instead of going from the front of the car where the fuse box would be here in the Durango and then looping around a million times. It's just going to go from that back part right here and then just up to each door, which I think will be really clean. There'll be a lot less wiring, a lot less weight. And I also have the wires ran for the G sensor right there, the shifter, as well as the fuel pressure sensor, or the fuel filler neck purge sensor or purge valve or whatever it is. And then I have the stuff ran for the fuel pump. So getting very close, just need to get the headers on this thing in the next video, as well as get a bunch of, I'm gonna have to end up dropping the engine back out of here. Then I need to do the fuel lines, I need to do the brake lines. Pretty much everything is gonna go relatively quick, I'm hoping, but yeah, let's keep working on this. I don't think it's gonna be too much more work today to get the rest of the harness. And really all I wanted to do today was get the rest of this harness all separated and most of it in the car. Oh, and I also have the rear bumper harness for the parking sensors. We have the collision avoidance sensor wiring all in there as well, which is a big plus. Plus the charger, the charger module is back here and all the wiring is super short. So I'm losing a bunch of weight from all that Durango wiring because that module, I think, sits on the driver's side and then the wiring runs all the way up and then over and then up and then back. So I now have everything separated out of that charger harness so I could have the whole grounding circuit as one uncut piece, which I think is a pretty big accomplishment. So I also have still connected to the grounds, the trunk pop and the rear view camera, or the rear camera. So, and then there's some other stuff like CAN bus. This one had a ground to it and some of those had grounds as well. And then the rear collision avoidance or radar sensors, I left those connected into the ground system so I didn't have to worry about taking all of that out. So now what I need to do is I need to throw this ground, actually I'm going to wipe it off because it's been on the floor, but the whole grounding circuit into the car. And this also allowed me to keep all of the, I could have just cut it and then resoldered it. This just made it a lot simpler to me. So I also was able to keep all of the lighting as one circuit as well. And then I depinned some of the grounds, but they're all the same length. So they're going to go directly to each component. And then all the grounding on the body, all these lugs are still connected. So none of that's cut. I'm really excited about that because that will ground all of the door harnesses, everything. So let's wipe this off as I stick it in the car. It's going to probably be a little bit of a pain, but I'm also going to take this harness that's in here, all these bags, and kind of stick them on the center console, and I'm going to pull this carpet right here out, so that'll let me get all that ground wiring in there. I just finished routing all the wiring for the rear taillights as well as the rear ABS sensors, and everything is nice and kind of temporarily tucked up. I still need to swap out this wire right here for a Challenger one, since I am using a Challenger center console. This wire actually comes around here and then up on this side of the center console, and I have it over here on the back side, so it won't actually go to the correct spot. Plus, on the Chargers, this is a separate wire that goes to the shifter, and on the Challengers, I think I said Challenger before, on the Challengers, it's part of the main plug that goes to the center console. So I want to just not have to rewire the whole center console. I just want it to plug in just like everything is up here. So I need to pull those three wires, pretty much two, but three wires out of the Challenger harness so I can get all of this buttoned up. And I also have the rear fin antenna wired in. We're moving forward, so I need to wire in some stuff down here. I need to attach the parking brake as well as some other stuff, and I also want to wire in, I need to find the wiring first though, but for the rear hatch and all the wiring that would go up to that, because on the Durangos and Trackhawks, the taillight harness is separate from the hatch wiring harness. So if I did wire it in like it would be on a Charger into the body control module, I'm guessing the brake light circuit would be pulling too many amps, because on one of the pins it's actually a smaller pin instead of on the Chargers it's a larger. So a few things are flip-flopped on the body control module, which if if I would have just went and plugged in the Charger harness into the body control module, most likely would have just fried it, and we would have had even more electrical issues than, I want to have this thing fire up and not have any electrical issues, and that's what I'm crossing my fingers for. So let's get to work on wiring some of this other stuff up. I also got the power wire in, and then I ended up getting the power wire that would go to the fuse box. I'm still going to use this and have it go to, I've showed it before, this little panel, and then the electric steering rack, the cooling pump, and everything will hook up to this. Just be kind of like, bam, be kind of like factory. So I'm going to pretty much call this a day. I have a lot of this wiring is getting done. All the tail lights, everything in the rear is now connected, but the limited slip, or the not the limited slip, but the module for the transfer case control unit, I want to 3D print a bracket so it mounts underneath the foot pedal like the stock Charger ones do. And I have all of this wiring nice and tucked up. There's so much wiring in here, it doesn't look like I've even accomplished anything, but we do have some stuff over here and stuff going up there. So all of that right there is fuel pump. Most of this is fuse box right here in the door harnesses, and then over there that's all airbag stuff. So should go relatively quick. I just want to go home really quick, pretty much wrap the video up. I'm going to make a little bracket that bolts this underneath the foot pedal rest from the all-wheel drive Charger. And what I'm going to do is mount the Durango Hellcat / Trackhawk transfer case control module in the position it would be in if it was in an all-wheel drive Charger. So on the all-wheel drive Chargers, these are just mounted underneath this footrest, and on those the module actually has little ears that come off, and then it just bolts on. What I'm going to do is make a bracket, 3D print it for now, but then have Send bend it, and then I could just have little inserts so it just screws right in. And go home, design this in CAD, and get everything ready to 3D print, and then I'll make sure it fits, and then we'll have Send cut it out. So I just finished designing the bracket to hold the transfer case module into the Hellcat Magnum. What I'm going to do now is 3D print this so I could wire the transfer case module into the car so everything is in the correct positions, and then I'll just send this off to Send, have them laser cut it, bend it, and then they have some kind of like these smaller riv nuts that they can, I think they guess friction weld or tack on or however they do it, but I'll have them do that. Then all of the transfer case module and wiring will be finished, and then I can work on the rest of the other wiring for the doors and the stereo and all of that stuff. So I'm very happy that this is kind of moving forward and we're getting the wiring a little bit further. I want to get this all done, but I want to do it properly so I don't have a bunch of wiring gremlins at the end of it. So I'm going to end the video here. If you like these videos, make sure to click that subscribe button, thumbs up, throw a comment below. As always, see you guys next time.